Something truly extraordinary happened on the ABC radio this week. Now, you might remember this photo which landed presenter Patricia Karvelas in hot water. Now, Karvelas, who is supposed to be an objective journalist, brazenly endorsed Indigenous Affairs Minister Linda Burney as a legend on the eve of Labor's election victory. Now, Karvelas was issued a week warning from the broadcast after their editor-in-chief covered for her in Senate estimates. But it seems the tweet didn't just infuriate Conservatives.
I don't hear you calling me a legend. I hear that your tone is very different when you interview me. And that's got to change. You've got to stop setting black women up against one another and allow the truth to be told. That's a sad state of affairs in this country, that white progressives think they know best for us. That's part of the problem, PK, that, you know, if you vote no, then you're going to stand with Peter Dutton or Pauline Hanson. So that is another way of taking away the voice of those grassroots blackfellas who have a progressive no that the white progressives don't want to hear. And that's part of the problem. That's systemic racism right there.
Well, that's right. Not everyone on the left is in agreement about the voice. And what you just listened to was an example of some of the dishonest arguments from the more radical elements of the left. Thorpe believes the voice will be powerless. And why does she think that? Because Labor has been busy assuring Australians it will be. Karvelas was challenged on that point and was completely unable to counter Thorpe. And it shows a critical weakness at the ABC on this issue, because its journalists have no concerns about making their political affiliations public. They are unable to challenge nonsensical talking points from radical politicians. Now, Joe, I can't believe I'm finding myself.
Where do I start?
There is so much.
But I felt sorry for Patricia Karvelas because it is a dishonest argument, but she stuffed herself up by tweeting that silly photo and taking away her own integrity.
Yeah, look, I mean, whatever your position on Patricia Karvelas, she's a rational actor, at least. She may well be biased. She may well, favour the left, whatever. We'll leave all those arguments to another day. But she's at least a rational human being. The same cannot be said of Lidia Thorpe. Now, the idea that Lidia Thorpe and Linda Burney are on opposite sides of the argument over the voice because Patricia Karvelas set them up like pieces on a chessboard is obviously just, can we say batshit crazy on this show?
Yeah,
it is
you just did.
Mad, and it is just insane. Furthermore, the idea that you should only be able to make an argument about the voice on the basis of your skin colour is just an absurd idea. Now, the idea, it should just be, should it just be black people deciding, Aboriginal, Indigenous people deciding on the voice? Well, if it was, I think the latest polling shows that something like 80 to 90% of them are in favour of it. So this grassroots movement that Lidia Thorpe keeps talking about must be pretty subterranean because it's a tiny, tiny minority of Indigenous people. So she is in the minority, as Jacinta Price and Warren Mundine, who I love very, very dearly and respect enormously, and at least they have some consistency and rationality in their arguments against the voice. So, Lidia Thorpe complaining that, she's being made to look like she's siding with Peter Dutton and Pauline Hanson. Well, for one thing, she is. And secondly, there are also Indigenous people on that side of the fence as well. But the idea that it's all Patricia Karvelas' fault or some kind of white woman can
share your thoughts?
I know. Well, because Lidia is kind of like the inception of racism. She's like racism within racism within racism.
Amazing, yeah.
It's like I don't even know what side she's on anymore. I'm like, who's in trouble here? Are we white? Are we all black? Like, what's going on? I don't know. Look, I think Patricia Karvelas, she does have there are points against Patricia Karvelas here. There are moments where she, as a broadcaster, does show her political bias. That, again, is that a conversation we should be having right now? The ABC, I think, should just get rid of social media for all their broadcasters and be done with it, because I think that's the thing that gets them into trouble. But I think here she held her own, and she was also put in a position where she couldn't fire back at Lidia, because Lidia was kind of like...
And she'd be white-splaining.
Yeah, then she'd be white-splaining, or she'd be racist.
Which is an argument that Patricia would prosecute herself on occasion. So they've set themselves up for an inability to prosecute the argument, and that's what the ABC needs to be doing.